The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBank.
And welcome along to The Real Recap. This is The Real Pod recapping Celebrity Treasure Island. So excited. My name is Jane Yee, joined by Alex Casey and Duncan Grieve. If you're new to us, we do have a regular kind of a podcast where we just talk junk, but this is a very serious and focused pop-up podcast dedicated to recapping Celebrity Treasure Island because it's worth it. How are you, Duncan? How are you, Alex?
Very well. Very excited about this. This show has delivered already. And I'm so glad that we took a big swing on it and decided to do this weird new format.
I think the whole country is waiting for Celebrity Treasure Island. That's certainly the vibe I'm getting from sitting at home and not going on social media. And yeah, I watched 3 episodes back to back and was extremely taken by how quickly the legends in particular descended into like really quite rancorous dislike of one another. Loved it.
Holy shit. Before we dive into the weeds or get into the drink, as Chizo says, whenever anyone goes anywhere near water, we have a bingo game that's up on our Instagram. So you can go to the Spin-off Podcast Network. There's a bingo game you can take part in. We had to write it not knowing what was going to happen, and already the first 3 episodes you've probably got half your card filled. So many great classic tropes from Celebrity Treasure Island. People crying, people vomiting, someone self-eliminating, the works. But let's start off with our team. So we've got a Legends team, a Bosses team and a Jokers team. Honu, Ripo and Katapo. So you've got... Do I need to run through the names of people?
There's so many. I think it's fine.
There's so many. You guys watched it. You know who's there.
Compared to 16 last season, it feels like mammoth. And I think it's genius to split the teams up vaguely thematically, because now it's everyone's got something to prove, and it's real tense already.
It's massively tense. I agree that it's really smart, because I also think that it makes it, just as a viewer, from a cognitive exercise, it used to be that the teams had some combination of it where an insect and a colour, but it was also just a glob of people. It's quite easy to whereas now they have all of that plus this name that kind of describes their vibe. But yeah, it's real funny, because I think that they very deliberately, which is obviously the thing to do when you're casting in any celebrity thing, is you do a mix of high name recognition for general population plus people with big social followings. But which I thought was quite interesting. So I watched it with my 12-year-old daughter, who was I literally know who none of these people are. So clearly a dead weight loss for the under 12 contingent. But then I also read this review on, I think it was the Herald, that basically said, I only know who 4 of these people are, which is incredibly bad pop culture knowledge.
No, what they said, they were speaking on behalf of Pam from Mosgiel, because basically what they said was, well, working in the industry, I know who these people are, but for the average New Zealander, you'd be challenged to name 5 of them, which is absolute bullshit. It's
just bullshit. It's not true. And I think that that's one of the show's great benefits in terms of the casting is I know maybe half to 2/3, But I'm really into them all. Like, it's good to kind of meet some new celebrities. I'm bored of our celebrities. No disrespect to them. You're all lovely people. Some of you are lovely people. Some of you are terrible. But, you know, basically, I want more, and I got some more.
But it's also just giving recognition to different streams of fame, you know, like influencers who have huge followings, different streams of fame.
I was just going to say, it's fine to not know them. I think if you're jumping on Facebook and going, who? Or it's like you should be embarrassed, you know? You should just sit quiet and do your research, and you might find out something about, you know, like a interesting TikTok comedian you've never heard of. I hate this like aggression towards. It's like, you've got Buck Shelford. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know, what more do you want?
I mean, who doesn't know who Art Green and Angela Bloomfield are, for crying out loud? Also, let's take a second to talk about representation on our screens, because you've got some good representation there. If we don't use a format like this to represent some people who need to be represented in the mainstream more, then we're just going to have the same cycle of bloody old white aging All Blacks.
I am told that when they were announced and everyone was like, who, about Joe Damon, that he set his following commenting on everything about that he was like a celebrity chef and like trolled all the comments. And then I think they did something similar with Lance Savali as well, who is like easily the most world stage famous, coolest guy.
He rolls.
That it's like, just take a minute and do some fucking reading.
Embarrassing, New Zealand. I think if anyone can't name or doesn't recognise 5 of those people, revoke citizenship, you're off. Get off the island. Speaking of which, we're not actually on the island. Well, we're on the North Island. We're up in Northland somewhere.
Or are we on an island? I think we're on an island in Northland.
I don't think so.
No, we're not on an island.
Doesn't feel islandish to me. It feels like just a beach. A beach in Northland.
But I did like the way that Chizo acknowledged Ngāti Kuri as, you know, the mana whenua, and just the whole way that they have just generally embraced our Māori through that first episode in particular. Just like it didn't feel... Like, it felt very natural. It felt appreciated by the cast, and yeah, it was cool.
There's a good stuff
cool
story about how closely they worked with the iwi during production. I think they actually the Rako Kōrero, Ngāti Kuri did the carvings on it and all that. So it's like, it's very I think they did it very kind of respectfully and closely, which is cool. I don't know if all the survivors past and Treasure Islands past have been that respectful of the Indigenous culture of the land.
Let's hope that we've turned a new corner here. Love to see that the old Krypton-style challenges haven't changed, the Krypton Factor-style challenges. Love the groupings, as you've said, Duncan. It helps me mostly just to... I know what group everyone's in. It's always the biggest challenge. And then when you've got 21 celebrities, being able to go... okay, you're in the bosses group, you're in the legends group, you're in the jokers group, just makes it so much easier to compartmentalise everyone. I love how badly the legends team is falling apart. And hot take, I don't love Munter.
I don't love Munter. I don't love Buck.
Yeah.
I don't like Buck, I don't like Munter.
That real angry sports guy attitude, I don't have time for that.
How did they get there so quickly? Like... It's really bizarre to me. Like, Buck Shelford just absolutely sucks, which is hard for me to say as a man of a certain age, but clearly just has a bad personality. And yet, Tammy is really, really unpleasant. Honestly, Angela Bloomfield seems kind of annoying too. The whole team is like it sort of seems like this quite deliberate thing where they've just stuck a lot of, like, there's 2 extreme chemistry teams, especially the jokers, and then there's like a bad juju. Almost feels like deliberate casting of people who are just going to rub each other the wrong way. Great television though, so...
I feel sorry for Angela Bloomfield. I feel like there's a bit of a boys' club going on in the Legends, and I feel sorry for Angela because I do think that teamwork and, you know, getting to know your team is such a huge part of it. We can see how much difference it makes in a team, like you mentioned, like the Jokers. And the Legends are just stiff upper lip, win at all costs, but also just like maybe their bodies are defying them a little bit, at this point in the game. And I don't like how much the weakest link is being pushed on Angela. I say that because I'm a short mum who cries a lot, and I really relate, and I love to talk things out.
Yeah, I thought it was very harsh to say that she was trying to like play the sympathy card just by trying to get people to like talk about themselves and share anything about their lives.
That is classic sympathy card.
It's the empathy card.
I also just love like the fury of Buck being like, I don't like fucking losing to the team, and it's like you're a bunch of adults trying to do a puzzle with a turtle on it on a beach in Northland. Like the absurdity of the franchise, which I think in the past is like, been played up to be quite hokey. For whatever reason, something's happened, and everyone going into this is so hard out. And I don't know whether it's like because it's on home soil or because the production was like pushed a bunch. But it just feels so different this time around. Like, it feels like Survivor.
It's really nuts the way, but Buck, that quote was, I don't like coming fucking last. I like to win at all costs. Like, and he comes from a generation of All Black, which was amateur era. He's most famous for having his scrotum ripped open in a game and playing on. Like, which is, that is very close to all costs. But it's just an amazing thing to see a man with that record carrying that mentality onto, as you say, Alex, the silliest, most charity aside, low stakes idiot show, and just being roundly furious at his stink team, which, by the way, he sucks at all the stuff too, right from the start. Amazing.
Yeah, so
he's a knight. He is a knight of the realm. Wow.
Retract it, I say. Anna is Honu team captain. She's a little bit out of her depth in that. I don't know that there's too many, like someone said, too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many leaders in that team. It is imploding. And what else? I mean, I've done everything. I've written everything down in sort of chronological order, but it feels too hard to just like go through every challenge and every.
Are we having a production meeting?
We're having a production meeting right here. This is how it goes. Welcome along to the New Look podcast.
Let's just go through team by team, I reckon.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So let's keep talking about the legends. Richie Barnett is cool. He's very fit. He's kind of zen. I think they'll probably send him home really soon, and then the whole team's doomed. But otherwise,
I feel bad for Joe Nafahu, who self-eliminated at the end of the 3 episodes.
He's not in that really team, though, so we're supposed to be staying with the legends.
Oh, I didn't see how I said that I was really good at figuring out who was in what team. I'm not. It's still the same old me. Carry on.
Who else is in Honu that's like out of place? Is it just Ange? Because she's the only one. I guess Munta's not an athlete either. But everyone else is
see, I thought that was the thing. I thought because Munta has been the most vocal about Angela being, such a crybaby. And I would have thought that as actors, as the non-athletes in that team, that they would, they'd bond over that.
I wonder if they've got history or something, because he seems to have like the kind of dislike that it's very hard to escalate to in 24 hours.
Yeah, maybe he's just playing a part. Who knows? Maybe he's like, this is method for him. Maybe he wants to do Castaway too.
I like big old Casey Frank.
Oh.
Rest in peace, of course.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Go on.
First off the island, ex-breaker. Did he win anything for his charity? Probably not. He was in and out. I find it really funny when someone, like the first person to go, like Chizzo's departing speech, like, you made such a big impact, and then his speech about kind of like, oh, I've had a really nice 2 days. First eliminations on reality shows are always so funny when they have to do a little speech.
I think it's worse on celebrity reality shows because there's some sense that being on any one of these shows is on some level like a bit of a stoop especially if you're you've represented New Zealand and all this kind of thing, and then to just be immediately sent home, it's like you get all of the humiliation of agreeing to go on this silly show and none of the reward of actually like doing anything on it.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, presumably he would have quite liked to make some money for his charity, and also people perhaps wanting to increase their public profile a little bit. If you're off in the first, by the end of this, we're going to have forgotten that he was even on the show.
Well, Casey Frank as well. So Casey Frank was in the Breakers, and he was a sort of, from memory, he was like a quite good centre. But then he retired, became a commentator, and got like crazy jacked. Do you remember this, Te here? And then they had like a run of injuries at centre, and he came out of the commentary booth, played centre, and was kind of better than he was in his normal playing days, and was just like a physical beast. And he was at pains to underline that he was a physical beast on the show. Like, it was like people are just scared of it. And it was like, I think that's the real tragedy, is that he didn't get to show what a physical beast he is in front of the nation.
He definitely got to lift Anna Simsek up a pole once.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is something.
He can put that on his CV, can't he? Shall we move on to the bosses?
Yeah.
Fire
What a
Depot,
team.
Or just this team. I mean, truly, I thought this was going to be a disastrous team because, you know, there's some influences in there, and I was just like,
let's tell the listeners who's on the team, because it's
Jonah Fahu, apparently, Art Green, Lance Savali, Candy Lane, Edna Stewart, Jess Tyson, and Tegan Yarworth. This is
Edna
probably
Swart.
the team that.
Her name's Edna Swart.
It's done it again.
Edna Stewart, Simon Lund.
It's auto-corrected. Sorry, Edna Swart. But this is a team that probably, if you're Joe Average, if you're Pam Modskill, you probably don't know as many people from this team. But if you're heavily on the internet, you probably know heaps of them. But as it turns out, they're all athletes. They're all like crazy fit and just extremely strong and full of confidence.
Very competitive.
You know?
They got very lucky, I think, having Lance as their captain, because he's not a sort of swing it around, command and control type leader. He's like a listening, feeling, let's figure this out kind of leader. And I think with all of the sort of big personalities, the bosses are meant to be sort of entrepreneurs and, you know, quite type A personalities. And I think he has got them together and working harmoniously in a really like a way that's actually quite lovely to see on the TV.
I also think Lance is playing an interesting game, though. I do feel like he's got this slight, like, Jack Sparrow-y kind of like jokery energy where it's like he might be putting on some kind of facade. He's real good in those bluff challenges when he's like doing the extra mimes and stuff and like kind of fucking with people. I'm very into Lance as like, I think, maybe the best celeb on the show.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, he's great. I really appreciated that the Joe Nafahu and Lance Savali friendship that was beginning to blossom, and it just ended too soon.
That was so sad.
That
challenge with Kimberly Crossman just in ribbons. I mean, I don't know, are we jumping too far ahead?
No, it's fine.
Right.
No, we're all over the shop. That's how we do it.
It was so intense. Both of those end kind of elimination challenges, I have been like quite literally on the edge of my seat. And she was just like having this very kind of like public vocal, like working through her negative self-talk and anxiety, and then was just like starting to cry and just cried through the challenge and then got eliminated, but then Jonah Fahu stepped up instead. It was just like, it was amazing television. It's the best.
It was. And do you know what? When I was watching that, I paused it just before the elimination challenge to see how long there was to go. There's like 9 minutes left to go. And I was like, oh God, they're going to drag this out for 9 minutes. And it went by in a blink of an eye. Like, just everything about the way they've edited it, like the tension remains. The celebrities are putting on an amazing show. I'm feeling really bad for Kimberly Crossman because I'm like, height was definitely an advantage in this challenge. And I know she's a shorty, and I don't know, I think we could all relate to being under that pressure. But she has to do it on the telly in front of people. And then I do think... Sorry, I'm scrambled. But I do think that she should have been, because Joe stood down, I think she should have had to go into the bosses group. That should have been the caveat of her staying on. Because they'd essentially lost someone when they didn't, they'd won.
But they got the clue,
team
remember?
challenge. They did. No, they did. No, they didn't. They got a pirate treasure for the one.
Well,
Oh no, that was
No, Richie.
That was the
That
Legends.
was Richie. He was like, "That's gold."
Yeah, no,
I
that's
think
true.
it is.
But I think
also
the bosses lost someone. The bosses lost someone out of their team, and the Joker's got to keep someone who theoretically should have been gone. So I think that person should have been transferred to the bosses.
the problem is the bosses are just so unbelievably strong that they could stand down Art Green, reality TV genius par excellence, and then it'd have no discernible impact on their performance. So I think that's the issue, is that this production really needs to figure out a way to make that complete alpha beast mode team sort of vaguely approachable by by the others.
Yeah, that's true. There's two things about crying I want to say. Number one, the only reason I didn't cry during that whole bit where Kim didn't win the challenge and then Joe said that he was going home and like everyone was in tears. The only reason I didn't cry in my very own living room was that there was someone else in the living room with me. Otherwise, I would have been in buckets. Secondly, Art Green was nearly in tears when he got stood down from that challenge. When he got stood down,
gutted.
he was so gutted when he got stood down from the team challenge by Katapo, who had a reserve bench card. It was amazing. He was just like, I'm so sure. I didn't see that coming.
That's what I mean about the weird
the sleeves
stakes.
off my t-shirt for nothing. Like they're
That's
awful
right.
when
He
you're going a bit
knifed
like.
them. But that's what I mean, like, about the weird stakes. If someone, granted, I am not a celebrity. I want to make that very clear. But if I was on this show and someone was like, you want to sit this one out, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
But
You know?
you
That's what
understand.
Candy
to
Lane
do
was
that.
saying.
That looks awful.
But you've got to understand that Art Green's body is a work of art. May I quote, being the boss of looking delicious, which was the objectifying of him that happened by one of the hosts. But I also think, like, the guy just wants to compete. Like, that season of The Bachelorette with Moses, I'm both the host and I'm, like, an intense competitor as often as possible within, against Moses Mackay. So I think that, like, he went up there just incredibly excited about the opportunity to use this insane, like, cruise missile of a body to do all kinds of, intense athletic stuff. And so he's, like, psyched himself up and then has to sit out and it's not the one.
Well, yeah, everyone's facing their own personal challenges, aren't they? Including Art not being able to do the things his body was made to do. That's crazy.
I did cry, Jane. I will say I actually cried weirdly. This goes to show my vulnerable mental state. When Brinley won the blocks challenge.
Oh, how good was she though?
I was just so proud of her. Like, she just
I
did such
know.
a good job, and it was so tense when those blocks kept falling. And I was just like, she's so close, and I wanted
really
her to
did
stay.
not want. Yeah, I didn't want her to go on. So there's been some kind of like supporter names that have been floating around. So Chris Parker's got the Parker Rangers. And I'm trying to think of one for Brinley. It's really her name's really hard to work with. And I came up with Bryn Mates.
I feel like you can do
like
something with the
inmates.
fact that that's actually very good. Very
Thank you.
good. But can you do
But apparently
something?
already out in the ether is Bryn Reapers, which is also quite good. So
That's quite good. I think you can do something with stent, though, like the fact that it keeps your artery open so that your heart stays pumping. Like, there's workshop that. Come on.
That's extremely smart stuff, though. You know, I knew vaguely that stents are something medical, but I couldn't turn that into a fan group. You know. Come back to me if you think of something. But I think I'm going to, between this episode and next, I'm going to try and come up with as many fan group names as I possibly can.
Let's talk about the
I don't think
Jokers.
I don't think I need to come up with one for Buck, though, because I don't think there's going to be any fans. Okay, the Jokers. The Jokers are my favourite team because they're lols and they're just having a good old time and they love each other. And eventually we know the wheels will come off. They have to. But for now, it's just a nice time.
It really feels like Chris Parker, I would say, is like the narrator of the show.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like they're really going to him a lot in interviews, and he's really good for those kinds of like cutaways, and they're like, let's see how Katipo's doing, and it'll just be Chris like swanning around on the beach like, I love Northland.
Just wearing the
Really
tiniest
like it.
fluoro trunks.
Yeah, it's a really good time. I like Lana as well. I didn't know much about Lana Searle, but she was very good in that captain's challenge with the bluffing.
She's a very good captain. I feel like she's really got a captain's vibe.
I would like to say, though, that challenge was very boring. Like, have I respelled the words correctly? In general, I think I'm so curious about these challenges, but that one is like, that should have been an online extra, you know?
Yeah, it was also flawed because there was a point where, like, if the other two didn't, you know, it was like it was at match point, and if they put down different answers, then the person who was up for was definitely going to win. So they kind of were bound to having to say the same thing, whether it were true or false. And it's very boring in explanation. It was very boring to watch as well. I also love the complicated main challenges where Chizzo runs through everything and everyone's faces are like, and I'm like, you are definitely running them through that 4 more times off camera before anyone knows at all what they're doing. Take some balls, throw them in a basket, then put it back exactly the way it was, and then walk along the plank, and 3 people have to jump over the hoop, and it's just like crazy. They must have someone run through it and like do a visual of what they have to do, surely, before they start. That's what I want to see. I want to see the B-roll. I also want to know if they've got their phones, because these are celebrities. Do they get access to their phones at all to check on mum, check on the kids, check on their Instagram followers, anything like that? What do you reckon?
I think so. I think their living conditions are real and the food is real. But I reckon they must get to call home. Don't you reckon? I mean, JJ Fong clearly inquired about the laundry.
Exactly. So there must be some non-negotiables a few of them would have had. And I reckon phone access at some point is probably one of them. You know, even if it's an hour a day or whatever.
I think that maybe they don't sleep there.
Yeah, I think maybe they don't.
Nah, I think they do.
We're not seeing any overnight stuff, are we? In fact, we're not seeing any night stuff at all. Even the elimination challenges, which traditionally take place by torchlight,
these are celebrities.
Like at 2 PM.
But what about the soggy mattress, as it were?
Yeah, because no one slept on it. Because no one slept on it. It got wet.
How weird was that comment when he was like, when Manta was like, we like walked over Buck and we thought we tripped on his leg, but it was I like had a little like boing like editing thing, suggesting that it was maybe something else.
And they just dropped in that they were naked or something. I think it was just probably trying to make a lol, but yeah, who knows? But like you say, I'm suspicious. I want to know the truth, and I want to know how closely guarded these truths are. Like, what kind of vault is the phone situation and whether or not they sleep, and the food situation. How closely guarded are those secrets? Because I also reckon they're getting, like when they did the melon challenge and they all got to take melons back to camp with them. And I'm like, that wouldn't happen on Survivor. You'd have to do a challenge to win a melon. You don't just get to scoop up armfuls of melons and take them home and have a lovely knife to chop them up into perfect little triangles with. They're definitely getting concessions, even if it is just melons.
It's just good to have a lot of melons. But as we famously know, the melons had their revenge on poor Chris Parker.
What happened? I missed that.
He got the shits.
Did he? How did I miss that?
Was this on the TV?
Yeah, it was a throwaway comment when they were at camp. Like I think it was either the next day or something. They were talking about the watermelons backfiring on them.
That's so funny.
Which is funny. I mean, like JJ Fong also had like a very intense physical reaction to that wasabi avocado challenge.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not surprised. And she was just like, I haven't eaten. I'm like, is it that, or is it that you just like chowed down on wasabi?
Speaking of someone who has, in the wild, got some experience with this and has eaten like a lot of wasabi and under the misapprehension that it was avocado, it's not good. Like it's if if the quantity was right, if that was like pure wasabi and not just like a little bit, then it's little wonder that their guts weren't right.
I think we're going to see a lot more bad guts in the coming weeks, and I'm here for it. I like when we talk about Chris Parker being the narrator, I like the bit where he was talking about between the team challenge and the elimination, that those are like the worst hours of his day, and everyone's just like lying around stewing. And it's palpable, like the shots that they used to background that. Everyone is kind of just assuming that they're going to be put up for elimination. And as soon as anyone says, "How are you?" they're all like, "I think I'm going home. How do you guys think you would fare in this environment? Just say we're celebrities, we're not, but say we are, and we get pulled into Celebrity Treasure Island.
Okay, by like comparison to someone who's there? Because I think I'd be Ange.
I'm definitely Ange.
I'd be crying atop a hill within like half an hour.
Yeah. Who are you, Dunk?
I don't know who precisely I am, probably Munter, but like too competitive, got no physical tools. But I was watching it going, if there was a way to do this just as like a fun activity with your mates or your colleagues or something, I'd so do it. Like, it looks real fun to me.
It looks fun to me too, and it's kind of everything I hate, like not being in bed, not being able to watch television, not being able to eat heaps of junk food.
I'd want to do a day
on my phone.
It's a day to me.
Maybe
It's
a weekend thing.
I wouldn't do 6 weeks of it or whatever they do, but
What about Outward Bound? Why don't you just do adult Outward Bound? Well, that sounds weird, doesn't it? Adult Outward Bound.
Adults only Outward Bound. That's reference to our previous podcast, actually. That's in the feed. If you didn't catch it, make sure you go back and listen to it. I think that I actually, this season makes it look fun, and I don't know if it's just because it's early days, but I reckon I'd be up for it, except the fact that one team's only got one roll of toilet paper. I think that my team would turn against me real quick in that situation, because I would hog the toilet paper.
Would you be putting away the sheets, Jane?
It's not that I'm excessive with my use of toilet paper, it's just that it's a... Oh, God, I've said too much.
What about the poo cave? You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Hey, so the poo cave is water, right? It's just like a watery cave, so you're just going to do a poo in the water. Is that the idea? You just
I think so, just with
down trowel and have a little
privacy.
Poop in the sea.
Never done that. Anyone else?
I've never pooed in the sea. Duncan?
They've got a rare clean record for me as well.
I
once picked up a human turd at Kaiwi Lakes. I thought it was a rare gemstone that I found under the water. And I dove down and I picked it up and I lifted it proudly. And then I realised what I had done.
Is there any video footage of this incident?
No, but Jessie Sahi, who is a Real Pod listener who may or may not be listening to this, was there to witness it, and she can confirm.
That honestly feels like it would be one of the most popular gifs of all time, were it to exist in video.
Alex Casey, I can't believe that 6 years on this podcast, we haven't heard that story before.
I can't believe I haven't talked about the Kaiwi poo before. I must have.
It's crazy how much...
It was a tipping point for me. It was a turning point. It was an intersection.
Turning point.
It was
you changed one letter.
Turning point. Oh, God. Okay, should we wrap it up? Got anything else to say?
I don't think so. I mean, I just would like shout out some of the Treasure Island fashion. I'm really into Candy Lane's The Godmother parody singlet. And that's basically all.
I like Chris's Legionnaires hat thing is really good too. The kind of the full cover hat with scarf attached type situation. Very Lawrence of Arabia. I like it. I just think it's I'm curious to know if the team colour outfits that they're wearing were supplied or if they were just told to bring those colours from home, because they're extremely varied, like from socks to tight tank tops, and none of them seem to be the same shade of the team colour as well. Just curious, just asking questions.
Just asking questions.
Finally, I think before we go, we need to make mention of Chizzo and how good it is to have him back and how no one else can do this job and how he got taken out in a challenge and just bounced back up and was like, I'm okay.
He's so amazing. I am so intrigued by the bit in the tease that was like, I have burnt my eyes.
Moving on.
Moving on. He just puts his body on the line. He's so committed to the role. I mean, I think Bree's really good as well. They're a great combo. It's just a great show. I'm so glad that it's arrived at this particular moment in time, particularly for us in Auckland who don't have a lot to look forward to a lot of the time.
And particularly for us who do reality TV recap podcasts. Just feels like lovely timing.
Important community.
Very generous of them.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. I'm very much looking forward to next week where we will be digging in even deeper to the excitement that is Celebrity Treasure Island. Thank you, I here for recording. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Duncan. Thanks to the Cornies. And thank you to our new listeners. If there are any, we thank you. Catch you next week.
Kia ora, this is Toby Manhire, here to urge you to tune in to Gone by Lunchtime, a podcast with me, Annabelle Lee Mather and Ben Thomas, tackling the world of New Zealand politics, from policy to polling, from scandal to psychodrama. Listen to Gone by Lunchtime, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network, wherever good pods are sold.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, Senior Writer at The Spin-Off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.